Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another Rams Up Roundtable. I got Paul and Ian on board. What's going on, Paul?
Double barrel ram horns 24/7 out here on the East Coast.
Nice. How's it going with you, Ian?
Doing good. We got good weather, and I can't complain, man. I mean, shoot, it's been a lot of rainy weekends out here. It's been annoying, and spring showers, so they say. And hey, we welcome it out here in the LA area. But dang, on the weekend, you're killing me. You can't give it to me on a Tuesday or a Monday. Golly, man.
On a work day, right?
Yeah, it killing me. But we're doing good, and I hope everyone else is too. And real quick, don't forget, if you're tuning in on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if you're tuning in Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, keep tuning in. We appreciate all the viewership and listeners. Thanks.
And can we take a moment? Ian, can you show off the ram swag?
Oh, the Rams, like, yeah. Paul was digging my the old English cathedral style Rams font of this hat. Shout out to the fan for getting me this hat. Maybe I want to say a couple seasons ago at least for a birthday. My birthday's close in December time, so you get combined Christmas and birthday together. You get some cool stuff every now and then. So I got this hat. If I flip it around real quick, it's got the little. Let me turn the other way. It's got a little ram
There you go.
patch right here, and this is not custom. This is what they sold on Fanatics, the Ram store, all that stuff. So this is, I don't know if this is available to get. I haven't checked the Ram store out in a while, personally, truthfully, because I'd be getting stuff like in person at the mall. They have some Rams goods. I'll get stuff there. But if you can find it, this is a cool one, man. I'm a big snapback guy. Fitted's cool, more baseball, but sometimes my hair's longer. I can adjust the size, and it's a good hat, man. So
I got to find that font and maybe use it on a couple of my thumbnails just for fun.
And we got all three ram logos. Listen, we got 3 decades of ram logos. Look at you.
Yeah.
So you got then the new one that Ian's rocking. I'm rocking the classic, and Mark's got, look at St. Louis. So there it goes. Perfect scenario right here.
I don't think I've ever met a Ram logo I don't like, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Hey, so we have a list of items we're going to talk about. It's sort of kind of a slow news week, but there are some things happening worth talking about. And for everybody's awareness, we're getting close to the draft, and we're going to be doing some mock drafts. We're going to be doing some depth chart analysis over the next couple of weeks. Got a lot of good stuff planned, but let's start.
Real quick, Mark, just everyone, we're 2 weeks and some change away from draft night. Isn't that insane?
It is.
That's crazy. We're talking about it before everybody who's listening in. And dude, it flew by so fast. I mean, my goodness, it feels like yesterday we were just playing Detroit in January. My goodness, that's off-season football for you. Things fly by fast, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah, some people get excited for Christmas. I get excited for draft day.
Yeah,
trophy winners never sleep, baby.
Yeah.
Trophy winners never sleep.
Easter Smeester. I'm ready for draft day. Okay, let's roll with this first topic. And, I talked a little bit about this on a couple podcasts. Sam Howell. And I guess the story I heard is we all know the Rams made a play for him, but it sounds like the Rams made a real hard play for him to bring him in as their backup quarterback. Is that how you heard it, Ian?
Yeah, it's unclear exactly what that official offer was. Seattle, what did they send? They sent a 3rd and a 5th rounder to Washington for Howell. And I think they got a 4th and a 6th back, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a 3rd and the 5th is what Washington received. So, we value 3rd rounders. We draft really well in the 3rd round, let's be honest. A lot of our draft picks work out from that round and down most times, right? 2nd rounders, meh. 1st rounders, we've always turned into established good players. So 3rd round's the money round for us. So maybe Lestine and Co. is like, it's a little too rich for us. But per Sports Illustrated, per Mike Garafolo, who is a big, newsman, reporter, insider for the NFL Network, does a lot of good stuff. I mean, he said that the Rams wanted Sam Howell badly, and he emphasized badly. And, that to me says, all right, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't choice number 1, right, Paul? So things aren't that wasn't the number 1. Oh my God, we gotta get that dude, right? They were looking for a young, talented quarterback to maybe possibly be the future. I don't know, but we've all seen it. Sam has got talent. We've seen him
Yeah,
play
he's
really
tough
good
too.
games.
He's a tough quarterback.
And he got the crap kicked out of him in Washington. Their O-line wasn't very good. Come on, guys. Let's think about the last couple of years. He's got a big arm. He's got a lot of moxie. He can move around. Is he this run around, oh my God, quarterback? But no, he can escape the pocket. He can do everything this offense that Sean wants, boots, play actions, rollouts. He can do all that, and he's got a cannon. And obviously, we played him up close to personal, and that game wasn't his best this last season when he got yanked for Jacoby. But, man, I don't hate that they tried. Now, I'm happy that we didn't have to give up a third rounder, right, gentlemen? That would have been a lot. And I would have been like, I don't know. But who knows if Sean would have got his hands on him and would have molded him into something. Because we all remember Jared Goff rookie year was awful. He was awful. Sean McVay got him on the right path playing Pro Bowl level football. Why couldn't he have done that with Sam Howell, who was showing flashes of that Goff never showed in his first year, with a bad offense, you could say. So crazy, gentlemen. I mean, what do you think, Paul? Shoot, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to our last segment where we were talking about how a lot of these high draft pick quarterbacks never get a fair shake.
That's right.
So
you did say that, yeah.
So it only stands to reason that if you're a sharp personnel squad, right, that's exactly what you want, right? So when one of those players gets ejected, you get a chance to sort of, hey, look, Baker Mayfield was a perfect example of that. Yeah. How many people legitimately felt that if Baker Mayfield had stayed in LA, he would have become a starting level, high caliber quarterback, right? Probably, and that's a great argument to make. So those opportunities are going to be there, and that Sam Howell fit makes sense. He has a lot of the temperament that they're looking for. He has the IQ aspect of it, meaning football IQ. So, that's probably the type of moves you're going to see moving forward. They're always going to keep their eye open for that type of scenario. And a smart personnel group would do that. And historically, the NFL we've seen that. These quarterbacks coming from other teams, bad situations, coming into a better situation and winning Super Bowls. Yeah. Right? Or out of the blue. Look at Nick Foles. I mean, not that he established himself as a long-term starter, but for that one season, he was able to pull it out, right? Yeah. For that, quarter of a season anyway. So,
hey, but we got to give credit to Nick Foles. He had that 1 year with Chip Kelly who was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kelly offense. So so the same thing with Howell, right? We know he can play. Can we just get him with a coach
in the situation, right? That's going to tap his talents.
Terrible, like Washington's. But now they have new ownership. We'll see where that goes. But that would have been cool if it would have been a fourth rounder, maybe, right? That would have been enough. I would have been like, okay. And shoot, I mean, Mark, what do you think? Do you think it could have been the future? I mean,
well, I can tell you this, that my son loves watching college quarterbacks and wide receivers, and he doesn't do deep dives like you guys, but he was singing the praises of Sam Howell going into, was it last year's draft or the year before? Whenever it was. Right? Yeah, I love that.
He was UNC, right? He was UNC.
Yeah, I loved him, and just thought he was just one of those guys that just a dude, that you want leading your team, leadership skills, a little bit of gunslinger, and a lot of similarities to Matthew Stafford, I think. I'm not saying he's going to be as good, not a one-to-one comparison there, but I would have been thrilled to have him on board. But I kind of feel the same way as you, Ian. Giving up a third round would have been pretty pricey. But now, again, we may be playing against him in a couple of years, so that could be extra painful if he earns that starting job in Seattle at some point.
Yeah. Look at defensive coaches have no patience for mediocre quarterback play. I'm not saying Geno's mediocre, but there's a couple game stretches where he's there was some moments this last season with Seattle. They're going to yank him, and Sam's going to get in. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting scenario. We talked about it last segment at the other podcast. So does this take Seattle out of the Michael Penix trade?
I mean, realistically, if they're speaking about due diligence and being a good organization, Seattle's got a good GM with Snyder, right? I mean, he's since he is kind of taking control of the draft, the Pete Carroll draft picks, we all, that stretch where we're like, oh, those guys didn't hit, good for us, right? But since Snyder has gotten control, and which is why he's still there and Carroll is out, let's just keep it real. He's drafted well. He's selected good players. So I think if Snyder is as good of a GM as or I objectively think, Penix shouldn't be out of that mix. Foolish,
right? Because
because look at
that would be. Think about this. Look at this triad: Penix, Howell. Not that Gino's that great, but I'm just saying that's not a bad trio. There.
A good little room. And I just think, look, for that purpose, I mean, we've all said that. I mean, I think Mark's agreed with us too. I don't remember exactly what his third quarterback in the class was. Maybe you can remind me, Mark. But I know me and Paul agreed that Penix was the third best QB behind Jaden Daniels, and then Caleb being number one. I don't remember if you said that too, Mark, or not. Apologies if you didn't. But if he's there, I mean, you got to consider, right? Gino, I mean, if Sam Howell continues to be shaky, then he's not going to be the answer. But, that's the gamble and the risk that they wanted to dive into. But I think even regardless, I think you pull that trigger and then you have two young, talented quarterbacks as your 1-2 options. That's a good situation to be in for any team. I hope Seattle doesn't get to experience that and do that. But he's a Washington guy. It's great marketability for that state, for the Seahawks. Like, it just makes sense for Penix to end up there. I hope he doesn't, just for our future battles with him and the organization there. But because I have Howell, I don't believe that they should be out of a quarterback mix, just objectively.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they took Penix, but I certainly wouldn't count it out either, though, if that's the guy they love, if they want him to be their next quarterback. It would, if they're positioned to draft someone like Penix, the trade seems kind of odd, right?
Well, yeah.
But, yeah.
Unless they're going to draft him, and then it's like good insurance in the sense of you best laid plans that you're going to get the kid that you want, Penix, right? And then then Gino becomes trade bait, and probably pretty good trade bait, right? Especially on draft day. Think about that. You get Penix, this kid Gino becomes trade bait, probably really good trade bait. You get an extra pick here and there. It makes a lot of sense. Then you're going to roll into the season with Howell and Penix. Even if you're having a tough season, Penix plays, you're going to fill the stands. So 100%. It's win-win.
And real quick, I mean, think about when I think Snyder and Carroll's first couple of years together, when they signed, Matt Flynn to the big money at the time.
Remember that?
And then they drafted Russell in the third, and then, obviously Russell outplayed him, and they had no problem making that flip. So I think Snyder he's well acquainted to this type of situation. And hey, man, best man wins the gig. Best players should be playing. And I think in this situation, this hypothetical, I think he would make that choice. We'll see, though.
All right, on to the next subject. Ian pointed out that Tre'Davious White signed his contract, and I think the Rams' cornerback room is set. I mean, they'll probably still draft one, but I don't think there's as much urgency. You guys feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good room. It looks like a good room. I mean, I think there's still room in there. If you take a look at it, so Ian, let me know if I leave anyone out. So we got left, right. You got Darius, you got T. White, then you got our boy Kobe, then you got Kendrick, Tomlinson.
Yeah.
So right there, you got a spot right there. I know Mark had pulled who was the kid from USC? Was it McCutcheon?
Well, Cameron McCutcheon is on their roster now. I don't think he's from USC though, or is he?
Oh, where is he from?
I don't remember offhand. I thought he was from a smaller school.
Oh, so right there, so you got a spot where maybe one of the kids are going to get pushed out. So you got a roster spot right there. Yeah. I think where there is room is really the safety scenario. There's room definitely in that safety room.
Yeah, a month ago.
So one quarterback and one safety, I think they have room for.
Yeah, a month ago, I would have thought Terrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell would have been on their radar. But now, I agree with you. It's got to be a safety earlier than a cornerback, I would think. What do you think, Ian?
No, I think the secondary is still up for any position being drafted. Truthfully, I think it should be that way. Number one, look at Darius has got a 2-year deal. Who knows, man? He could suck this year. I don't think he's gonna. I think he played really good football with us in Jacksonville, and I think he will continue to play good football again with round 2 returning to us. But NFL, not for long. Things change fast. What if he ends up not being great, right? What if Cameron Curl signing doesn't end up working out, right? What if Quinn Lake regresses? What if he's not as good at a traditional safety? What if he's not as good at the star slot, right? What if Tre'Davious White, who missed 24 games the last 2 years, guys? We talked about it when we first signed.
Yep.
Not good. It's not good, man. Not good. Achilles and an MCL back to back. And I get it. He was a freak athlete when he was healthy and before those injuries, which is why, we signed him to that 8 million base value, 10 million in incentives, which is, hey, if he ends up being good, what a great signing. If it ends up, not being great, then it's like, that's unfortunate. We wasted some money, but we didn't spend a significant amount of money. And he's on a 1-year deal. Cam Curl, I didn't mention his contract. That's a 2-year deal. Lake, we don't have many more years left with him. That's another 2 years max. So forth and so forth and so forth. So, unless Tre'Davious White makes the all-pro team, I mean, is he going to be back next year? That's a coin flip, right? So we have no starting other safety right now. I know people want to put in Quentin Lake in that traditional up top spot, and we've talked about it on this pod. He can do it, but he's so much better in the star slot. It's night and day. That's where he excels. That's where he played his best football. Now, could he take that step forward and play next to Cam Curl up top? It's possible. But if we can keep him at the spot he is best at, right? That's the problem with college football a lot of times, guys, is that you just want, sometimes you're just your best players, and you say, hey, you can do this better than that guy, even though you're better suited at this spot on defense, right? In the NFL, it's like, hey, let's stick you in the spots you're going to excel at the best, and I hope we continue to do that with Quentin Lake. So safety's still up for grabs. I think we should draft, and corner because of all the other age contract situations I laid out. So,
Right.
Hey, best player available on defense. That's just how we should roll from round 1 all the way down and so forth and so forth.
So I'm going to expand upon something that Ian said. So if you think about it, this is the way I think about it. One injury to one cornerback, Deion Kendrick becomes your number 3. So that's the motivation for drafting another quarterback, right? You don't want to be in that scenario. I mean, I'm hopeful that the kid takes a huge step forward, but that's something you definitely don't want to have as your fallback. Number 2 is this. Lake at the star. Lake played well at the star. So if that's his best position, then Lake at the star. Curl, by far, is a better strong safety than Freed. He can play both. He's great at both.
No, he's going to be the strong safety. There shouldn't be a reason he's anywhere else.
The beast at strong safety. He is one of the, in my opinion, he is an absolute enforcer at strong safety.
And real quick, Paul, because I just blanked. I knew I was forgetting somebody. Russ Yeast. I know he got overtaken by John Johnson, but he was really good at the dime linebacker spot.
Linebacker, yep.
You replace the traditional rose boom and you put in a hybrid corner safety defensive back, and you line him up close next to Ernest Jones. That's where Russ Yeast was playing a lot towards the end of the year when he got taken from up top. He played good football there. So I just wanted to mention him because I knew I forgot somebody. Paul, continue.
Yeah.
Paul.
So right, and in that very specified role, Yeast did very, very well. So expanding that role, we don't know how he's going to do, but in that very specified role, he did well. So you can keep him at that role. Mm-hmm. The issue now, the Rams' modus operandi has been the safeties learn the system for a year, and whose name pops up now? Jason Taylor. So Jason Taylor might get a legitimate shot to get some PT, and if he plays well, he might get the gig. But so what does that say when you take a look at this? The opening in the Rams secondary, one is at corner, definitely corner, no question about it. A right side corner for a backing up T. White, a big corner that can play the ball well, strong tackler, and the other one is that center fielder that can patrol the middle. That's where the opening is because if you look at the type of safeties they have, Taylor did have a lot of, when he was at Oklahoma State, Taylor did have that 1 year where he had a bunch of INTs. I think he had something like 6 or 7 INTs. So,
did he?
So that's an interesting sort of take. So the Rams could trade somebody like the kid from USC would be a great fit. Talk about keeping one of our USC guys at home. Will be the kid Bullock from USC playing. He's a great center fielder. That's where his size does not become a liability. So that might be a nice fit. A Bishop might be a nice fit in playing center field there. So that's where I think the opening is going to be right there. Somebody that can patrol the middle so that Curl can do his thing and play like a heat-seeking missile. So That's my take on it. I think that's how it's gonna play itself out.
And you know who I think would fit that mold really well? Who everyone thinks is a corner, and we talked about who I think is a safety. I think Cooper DeJean, the Iowa kid, would be the perfect.
DeJean would be a great free safety.
He would be an awesome free safety he'd just be a good safety for us. So that was somebody where he would have the kick return ability, and then he would obviously have the punt return ability, and then he can roam around. Because I think, look at it again, we talked about it, and I'll just reiterate it here. He's an athletic guy, but when it comes to playing corner, he lacks the immediate explosiveness you need to run with a freaking Puka Nacua, a Jamar, a Tyreek Hill. And obviously these guys are 4'3", a Justin Jefferson, but that's what you need to play corner in this league. Or, we do the soft zone that pisses everybody off, right? So I think Cooper...
You know where he would excel? Tell me if you think about this.
Yeah.
A team like the Rams, when they go into that robber look, he'd be the robber.
Yeah, he would be the robber for sure. I mean, look, he has in the open area when he was making plays on the ball. I was like, where is this speed at when you're running with the receivers? Yeah. So that's why I think he would be much better suited at safety. And I think he will transition to that hybrid safety, maybe a nickel every now and then, kind of like what Lake's doing. But I think he is more fast, more athletic, has more burst than Lake. And I'm not saying Quinn Lake's a slowpoke or anything like that. Don't get me wrong here, everybody. I think Quinn Lake's going to be a good player for us again. But I think DeJean would be a good safety to fill in that role, a young player who would be like, boom, immediate, you're going to play safety next to Curl. And that's a solid secondary right there. But we'll see how the tables, unfold on draft day, rounds 1, 2, and 3. Because he's going to go in round 2. He's not going to slip past round 2.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A guy like Cooper DeJean, a safety, he's going to be on the Rams' radar if they either move back and pick up picks, or if he somehow slips in the second round. And he's the type of a safety that can cover real well. Those are a hot commodity. And another guy that we forget about, and I don't know what to make of him. I just remember being impressed with him in the preseason. And preseason, I know it doesn't count for a whole lot. But, there's a guy on our roster named Tanner Engel.
Tanner Engel, sure.
Yeah, 5'9", 179, and the Rams have kept him around.
Hits like a truck. Yeah.
The
kid hits like a truck. That's what his scouting report is. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not that big. He's smaller than me, actually. But,
really?
But he so I don't know what role he could play in that team. Maybe he's going to be more of a special teams guy if he makes the roster. We'll see.
Maybe.
Mark, tell everybody about your 3-cone drill. What's your time in the 3-cone drill?
Oh, I don't. What's a good 3-cone drill time? And then I'll tell you what mine is. I don't even know. Okay, let's move on to the next subject. And apparently, some mock drafts have the Rams moving up and taking Joe Alt, and that would be a twist, right? But it's funny when you look at these draft scenarios. They're all enticing. Can we do them all? Yeah. Joe Alt, is he your top tackle, Paul?
Right. So right now, I think you would have to put him at the top. I mean, everyone knows my personal favorite is Fuaga. Man, that's my boy. Oregon State kid.
Fuaga's good, man. He's good.
That's the kid.
He's good.
But I will say this, Mark. So it's interesting. Everybody's talking about trading up for Alt. When we did that trade cast, when we were doing all the various trades, we saw these left tackles popping up after these quarterbacks started sliding down into early first round. We said I think everybody's recognizing now, right? Is that these left tackle opportunities they don't come around often. Mm-hmm. The Rams have a couple of legitimate left tackle opportunities. And I think by saying, yes, absolutely, we can get an edge. But if the Rams are going to trade up, they don't have to pretty much sell out just for one player. They can pick up another first and walk away with a left tackle plus whatever they need. By the way, Aaron Donald, AD99, says we should take edge. So I did not listen. The guy knows. He's probably sitting at home with a Jared Verse poster on his wall, right?
Jared Verse would be cool.
I think the Rams have a unique opportunity because they are a bunch of left tackle types. I know Mark also likes this kid from Washington. I mean, they sell this kid short all the time. Fatanu, they say he's a guard. That kid can play left tackle. Anybody who thinks that kid cannot play left tackle, I don't know what they're watching. That kid's got the footwork, the arm length, and the tenacity, plus the mental toughness to play on an island and play left tackle. No question about it.
So it sounds like, Paul, you're saying that you would be opposed to trading up for Alt because there are going to be good tackles there. Maybe you have to trade up a little bit, not as much for Alt for someone like Fuaga.
The strength of this draft, in my opinion, and I've said it before, is when you look at the back end of the first round and the front end of the second round. That is where you want to live in this draft. If you can get, like, and Ian and I had talked about it in the last cast. If you trade back and you wind up with 2 or 3 picks in that top 65 or that top 70, you're going to walk away with 3 legitimate starters. No question about it. Yeah. And there, you also got Kingsley, the kid from BYU, is one of my favorites. I mean, his ADP is like 40 something, which is ridiculous. That kid could definitely play left tackle. Not out of the gate. He needs a little seasoning, but there are some real opportunities. We were talking about the Penn State kid. He's falling down. I don't know why, but he's falling down into double digits.
Class. It's a deep offensive line class, Paul. There's a lot of just good players,
There's
man.
A lot of good players out there.
Offensive linemen. It's hardcore, man. It's a lot.
So Ian, you're agree with Paul. No need to move up for Joe Alt.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joe Alt's going to go top 10. I think. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, his tape is really is really fantastic. It's the Notre Dame linemen. More times than not, they're ready to go and they play good football. And ironically, they still have room to grow. There's always things you can say, man, he's good now, but gosh, if he did this better, he did this better, he did this better, he could be fantastic, right? Yeah. And I think Alt falls in that category where he's already damn good, and most people would say, oh, he needs no seasoning, right, Paul? But there's always room to grow with all linemen. Shoot, man, you're never – same thing with all the trench players, there's always room to grow. Steve Avila, he's going to get better. He already was good, but the sky's the limit, Sean McVay says. No different. And I think all these linemen would fall in that category too. It's a little bit different than maybe a corner or a receiver where maybe their game is at its peak and maybe they can learn a little more nuance in route running. But linemen, you learn the NFL level techniques and blocking surfaces, you can get significantly better fast if you're ready for it. So I think all these linemen fall in that category, no matter who it is. And look at to the point of Paul and you, Mark, about trading up. I don't think that's a good idea. But if McVay says that is going to be the left tackle that's going to keep me here for another 10 years, right? And make me excited about coaching offensive football, then so be it. Let's ride Joe Alt and Sean McVay, right? And that's the only way I'll be accepting of it, is if McVay said, I want him. And if McVay says, I want him, let's do it. Because that means another 4 or 5 years of McVay at the minimum, right? It's my selfish thought about it.
It goes back to, trust in McVay and Les Snead. If they select this guy or move up to get him, I'll be 100% behind it. I'm looking at his photo here, and for some reason, Jake Long immediately comes to mind.
Oh, Jake Long, really? Yeah, interesting.
Just he looks very similar.
He's a big human, that alt man. He's a big human. So we'll see what happens, gentlemen. I mean, I think we're going to trade up or trade down in the draft. I've said that multiple times. I just think it just makes more sense. Go get somebody you're in love with, or to Paul's point earlier, trade back and let's get a bunch of good players. Let's get a DeJean. Let's get a Chop Robinson the second. Let's get some other cats, right? Let's build this defense out. Yeah. If that's how it falls. Hey.
You got Jordan Morgan from Arizona. You got Graham Barton from Duke. Graham Barton is the ultimate sleeper because they're calling him guard center because he can play everywhere. That guy can play tackle. So you got Kingsley. So there's a lot of left tackle depth in the second round. I can't remember a draft where you had that much left tackle depth in the second round. So I think if Fashanu continues to drop, like everybody is saying, I mean, the Rams would be like hard pressed to overlook that. I mean, honestly. The chance to get a legitimate, I mean, when I say not a reach left tackle, those opportunities don't come along every day.
No, they do not.
Hey, let's move on to the, you brought it up, Paul, so let's jump to that subject. AD lobbying for an edge defender for his old team. And I guess maybe we should be listening to AD. He knows a little bit on the subject, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
And,
do you-
and go ahead, Mark.
no, I was just going to tell you, give me your thoughts on that, Ian.
Yeah, I'm duh. You know, we've been talking about this for forever, which is why everyone was sad, upset, angry, confused why we spent no money on an edge defender other than re-signing Michael Hoyt, who I think is a good, solid rotational player who is good depth to put in. We've talked about this. Byron Young, we hope to see him improve. He had a nice rookie season. I think, 8, 9 sacks. Good. He still has room to improve. But like we've talked about, to win a championship, you need multiple guys to win their one-on-ones at both ends of the edge of the defense and somebody on the interior. It's mandatory. That's just how it is. Think about the Chiefs. Think about us, our championship. Think about the Eagles championship year. Think about the Patriots, all their great pass rushers they've had under Belichick, and all those names that have cycled through and how they've all gotten max dollars everywhere else. We can go on and on and on. It's mandatory. You need to get to the quarterback. Tony Pastor said it at the annual league meeting. At the end of the day, no matter who you have up front, no matter if it's 5 D tackles that can rush the passer, whether it's 5 edge rushers, yada, 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 you just need people to get to the quarterback, and that's how you win important ball games. Simple. So AD knows it. We know it. And it's just going to have to depend how this draft unfolds because there's a lot of good options. But if the other teams like them as much as we all do, right? The Latus of the world, the Dallas Turners, the Verse, those are my top 3 guys. Chop, I know a lot of people really love his burst off the line.
His athleticism is unreal.
Yeah. If other teams like those guys as much as we do, there's a chance none of them are going to be around by the time we pick at 19, which is hence why I say trade up, trade down. But we'll see how it all unfolds, and that's going to tell a lot, man, of what we decide to do by what players are available, both edge and even interior.
What I think would be when I was looking at the depth chart on D-line, what I thought would be interesting because when they lost one of my favorite players, Jonah Williams, right? It's unsung hero, right? If they do go, I think they should go edge and also get hopefully another veteran to play edge, but maybe even go 2 deep edge in the draft is move Hoyt back to end. Let him play a pass rushing end. Let him put a hand in the dirt. I remember him from.
What do you want him? You want him at the 3 technique? You want him back at 3?
No, I would love him. So when the Rams go into their pass rush format, I think he could play. I think he could put a hand in the dirt, go after the quarterback when they go into their nickel. I see him doing that. I also see him as the rotational left end or right end, depending on how the Rams do their rotation. I don't see him that different as Jonah Williams. I see him. He's a really quick player, and for a player his size. So when he came to the Rams, he was 301, right? Right now they have him listed at, I think last time I checked, I think they have him at 278 or something like that. It makes a lot of sense. He looks bigger. He looks bigger than 278.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So he's probably bigger than that. So I think he came out of college playing end. He was a very quick player. I think he went to Brown, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So I think they should put him back down there. And if they get enough edge depth, I think they can do that. I think he'd be great. He could stand up or put a hand in the dirt. I think they would give him tremendous flexibility. And the advantage of him playing end is he's not going to get exposed in pass coverage. That's the other advantage. So, you want him to stand up. So it would be hard for the offense to know what he's doing if he was allowed to do both. And that plays because he's a great player. He is an underrated ball player. He holds the edge well, and he can get after it. And he loves being a Ram. Listen, Ian remembers I said, remember when Hoyt threw up the LA sign? Dude, that was awesome.
That was sick.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So I just think he's a great player, but I do think they have to give him a chance to get back to playing end just a little bit. I think it would be a nice mix. I do think the Rams have to go edge because you know why? There is not a lot of depth at edge. It goes south really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And there's some players in the latter rounds that, do have some real skill and I think are being undervalued. But the bang for your buck early on is at edge. There are 4 or 5 guys that really can get after it and can make a difference. There are 3 guys who can make a legitimate difference. But no matter how you look at it in the Rams scheme, the one player that stands out is Jared Verse. That is the player. Turner is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. If Turner's there, go for it. But the one player that stands out to me is Jared Verse.
Yeah, it's
good,
interesting that to me, I was really surprised that Aaron Donald didn't say, "Hey, the Rams need to go get a defensive tackle, defensive lineman." But I guess he's from what his experience last year. I mean, the Rams interior was okay. It was the edge that was they're a little short on the edge there, so that's where he's coming from, I guess.
And
but
and let me say this real quick while we're on this topic. Let me share my screen real quick with everybody that's tuning in, because if that's acceptable, we're talking about the defensive alignments. I think this is important for everyone to understand why we're going to draft somebody and why we might not draft somebody else. If you guys are okay with that, can you guys see my screen? Sure. Okay, on the shared portion. So we were talking about the 3 technique, the 5, all that fun stuff, right? Can you guys see my screen? Okay, everybody.
Rams play a lot of 4-eye also.
Yep. So as you can see here, guys, we have the center, the guards, the tackles, and the tight end. And, if you've ever played defense before, you know that, hey, we're going to attack the A gap, right? We're going to attack the B gap, which is the gap between guard and tackle, and so forth, as you can see in this nice little illustration. So now, when Aaron Donald, if you've heard him talk about it, you hear people talk about Aaron Donald like, man, he's the greatest 3 technique D tackle ever. What does that mean? That means that Aaron Donald lined up on the outside shoulder of the guard majority of the time, which is, you see that 3 here. So you can see 0 means you're head up with the center. 1 means you're right outside the center on the outside shoulder. 2Y means you're in the inside of the guard. 2 head up, 3, and you can so forth, as you can see. The Rams run a lot of 3 technique for their D tackles, lined up on the outside of the guards. Our edge defenders, outside linebackers, the Hoyts, the Vaughns, the Byrons, the Leonard Floyds, the Dante Fowlers, we had them at the minimum at the 5, but on pass rushing situations, we had them lined up at what you would call the wide 9, which would be if there was a tight end here, you would line up, see that number 9 here? We would have them lined up way out there. And sometimes the tight end isn't out there, but we'd still have them lined up there. Why? Because you want a straight shot to the quarterback, right? What's the quickest way to hit a destination? Straight line.
Straight line, baby.
And when you're on that wide 9, if you have, again, a Vaughn, a Leonard, who hit that thing like a bat out of hell, tackle has no chance from this wide 9 to get to Vaughn, right? So we run a ton of wide 9, whether it was with Wade, we did it with Coach Staley, we did it with Coach Morris, and I expect no different with Coach Shula. So who fits that versatility at edge? Who can line up the 5? Who can line up at the 4, depending on the situation? And who can attack and create hell for opposing quarterbacks at the wide 9? That's going to, determine a lot who that edge defender is going to be selected, whether that's pick 19, higher, lower, wherever else. And there's a lot of guys I think that can do those things. A Verse, a Latu, a Chop, a Dallas Turner. Those guys can all do the same things I said. So I just want to share that real quick with everybody, since, that's something I know a lot of fans don't know, those techniques of where you line up 0, 1, 3, 4, I, 5, wide 9. Just want to share that, and hopefully that'll inform you on what player you like that we should draft in the future.
A lot of defensive coordinators are like, shout out to all the DCs out there. They know the call when we go ghost. That means go on to the non-tight end side, and you will line up like there's a pretend tight end there.
Yeah,
talk about why it's called wide 9.
Wide 9.
You call it ghost.
Before you came on board, Ian, it was probably over a year ago. I was struggling with some of those concepts, and I asked Paul to walk me through it, and we did a little bit of a segment on that. And I tell you, if you're a Ram fan out there, I took a survey of some random friends of mine that are football fans, and I was just curious. I was like, hey, so do you know what a 3 technique is? And it was pretty interesting how few of, and Ram fans that really pay attention, watch football every weekend, sometimes all weekend, and they don't know. And I'm not ridiculing them because that was me a couple of years ago. But I really encourage you fans out there to, it doesn't take long. A couple of videos are out there. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. Check them out, educate yourself, and it just being able to understand the language, you can really enjoy the game a lot better.
And that segment that we created, we also took a look at 4 plays against the 49ers to illustrate that as well.
Right.
The latter
part.
The
opening,
The opening 4 plays. Great call on Mark's part. He picked 4 plays from the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, the NFC Championship game.
Right.
So for those of you out there, Ram Nation and other nations, feel free. It's out there on YouTube. It's a great segment. You'll love it, where we talk about the focus on the techniques and the leverages.
Yeah, and we were going to do more of those, but I came to realize that there's tons of stuff already out there, and there's no reason to really cover it again. But our segment, I think, creating that segment, of course, educated me 3 times more than just watching it. I had to put the graphics together, so. But yeah, it's fun stuff. Really interesting. Yeah, and that segment, that first possession, that first 49er possession, there's 3 plays and they punted, I think is how it went down. And you had Ashawn, Leonard Floyd, Marquise Copeland, Von Miller, Aaron Donald,
that front 7 was so sick, dude.
Yeah, Greg Gaines. And it was,
you got to get back to that.
And it was also interesting to watch, if you watch it over and over again, and I think the way it went down is, first down run play, 2-yard gain, and Ashawn Robinson gets up and makes a beeline for the sideline. My job is done.
I stuffed the run. I got us into a second and manageable. Let's rock and roll, right? Yeah, there you go.
Right. It's good stuff. Hey, let's move on to the next subject, and we got to talk about this kicker. And I talked a little bit about him the other day. So you think we need to get this guy in camp? This is the USFL. Is it the Michigan Panthers kicker? Now, he's not their primary kicker, though, right? He just kicks 60-yarders. Is that the deal?
Honestly, truthfully, I'm not too sure. But damn, 52, 62, 64. I mean, is that not screaming, hey, Rams, you need me to save your ass in some playoff games in the future? I think so, everybody. I mean, guys, he's making it with ease. He's making it look easy. Isn't that what we talk about when somebody is, different, quote unquote, is when they make something that is hard look easy. And I think this dude is bombing kicks, and we need it. I mean, at the minimum, bring him into camp. At the minimum, someone better be talking to him, reaching out to his agent. Please, come on, Tony. Come on, Les. We need to hear later that you were on the phone talking to this dude here, because, I mean,
he's got an interesting he's got an interesting history in that I think he played at was he a soccer player? I think he was a soccer player, and he didn't place kick in college. He didn't kick field goals until I think maybe when he got to whatever SEC school he got to, maybe not even there. He doesn't have I guess the point I'm trying to make is he doesn't have a big history of field goal kicking or even extra points. He was a kickoff specialist. Finally gets his chance. And wow. Have you seen him, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I actually did. He generated a lot of buzz after he nailed that last kick. So a lot of there was also a little bit of buzz about, like, if NFL teams contact him, would they be violating any rules because he was under contract with the USFL? So it was interesting. But the Rams really painted themselves into a corner with kicker. I'll tell you why. When these rules changed, right, all of a sudden kickers became valuable, and all those veteran kickers were signed. And I think the Rams were hoping that one of these veteran players would linger. So now when you take a look at it, and like Ian said, the only way you can do it is really bring guys like we did with Cameron Dicker, the kicker. The only thing you can do really is bring guys in and see, like, look, who's got the moxie, who's got the leg, right? Who's got the mental toughness it's going to be, and more importantly, who's consistent enough that we can count on them. That's the key. Yeah. So one of the things with Gay was he was remarkably consistent. You know, that's where you saw that with McVay. McVay had no problem if it was, you know, fourth down to call him in there. He knew it was going to end up with points. So I think that's what McVay wants to get back to, right? Is that ability to like, all right, I don't have to put it all on staff. That we can drive down the field and walk away with 3 with regularity. And I think that's something we saw it last year. That was huge. The Detroit game would have been very different had we had a legitimate kicker. Think about that.
There's no doubt about it.
It would have been very different.
We'd have won that game.
Yeah. So I think they sort of painted themselves into a corner now because the pickings are slim. If they're, you know, obviously a lot of people are saying go after the kid from Arkansas, Cam Little. But, you know, when it comes to rookie kickers, you know, the kicking in the college game is much different than kicking in the NFL. And that's the issue.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, which is why I think the camp point is probably, I would agree, camp point to me is the best way to do it. If you're looking at a kicker in the 7th round, so is every other team in the NFL. I mean, that's not the way you want to go. But we'll see what happens. You know, kickers are the variety type that you got to bring them into camp competition. You know what? The cream rises to the top, baby. Yeah, they will reveal themselves that they are NFL worthy.
Yeah, and I think the one advantage the Rams have now, I haven't looked at all the place kicking situations with every other NFL team, but I can't imagine there are many teams in as worse a place as the Rams, and you think a kicker like Jake Bates would be like, yeah, you know what? I got a shot over there. Let me get on a plane to Los Angeles. Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah. We're in such a bad spot, gentlemen, with our special teams. I mean, geez Louise, we got to improve, man, because we're going to be forced to return kicks this season.
Yeah.
Damn it. We better figure this thing out, man. And golly, that's going to stress me out that first couple months.
Please do not re-sign Trammell. Please, Snead, do not re-sign Trammell.
Hey, I think he's on a futures contract, right?
Yeah, I thought our special teams coach's job might have been at risk, but they brought him back. I think they got him some help though. So McVay's been really good about that, about bringing in seasoned coaches to help out some of his younger guys. Yeah. So maybe there'll be a turnaround.
Interesting rationale to keep their special teams coach, right? Who has basically stunk it up. But you let go of your defensive line coach. You let all your other coaches that are worth keeping walk away. It's an interesting concept.
It's interesting that John Fossil, that couldn't work out here. But his coordination during the dark days of Rams football, the dark ages, like to call it, where that was the bright spot, right, for 10+ years with special teams with Fossil, and then Dallas unit. What happened there? Funny how things went down the drain once he left the building. What a shock. So
that Stedman Bailey punt return, one of my favorite all-time plays. That was beautiful.
Stedman Bailey reference, that's worth 50 points right there.
Yeah, I remember watching that game and I was so confused, but once they explained it to me, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I used to love when Oz Hakeem used to return punts. Remember that?
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to the play, I think it was in Seattle, where they knew the punter had a habit of punting to the left corner. I think it was the left corner. They knew he was going to punt to the left corner. So they send the return team racing to the right corner, Tavon Austin preparing to make the catch, and Stedman Bailey floats over to the right corner all by himself and returned it, whatever it was, 80+ yards for a touchdown. Thing of beauty. Yeah. So anything else you guys want to touch base on before we sign off here? Anything else to add to the round table?
Cooper DeJean needs to be our second round pick. Safety, kick returner.
DeJean, look at that. Ian going on record.
Oh, I sense that you liked him. I didn't know that you felt this strongly about him.
I just think again, if he is going to be drafted as a corner, I don't like it. If he's going to be drafted as a safety / everything else I just named and special teams, great selection, high in the second or maybe late first, depending on how things shake out for us.
So your ideal draft is Latu DeJean?
Oh, man. Let me tell you something.
A realistic
I've
result.
been watching more Byron Murphy film, the D tackle from
Dude is
Texas.
a beast. I told you. Dude
Golly,
is
I
a
knew he was good.
beast.
Highlights. Look at everybody. We watch our highlights. We watch all the common stuff that everyone sees, and that's, you can say, wow, that really pops. Just like a lot of players, but, you got to watch the nitty gritty, and that's what we try to do here during the season when our games are being played, and what Paul, Mark, and myself every now and then tune in for these college prospects. Byron he's a real deal. Rams are going to have a really, really tough decision if we stay at 19. Let's just say that happens. I don't think so, but it could happen based on all the offensive players that are projected to go in the first half of the draft, right? Tackles, guards, quarterbacks, receivers, right? Offense heavy in the first. We're probably going to get a lot of good defensive players to choose from. We're going to be in a really tough spot if that's the case. Whether that's a lot to averse, a Murphy all up there. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's a good spot to be in, but man, oh man, that's going to be a tough decision. I know Paul loves Verse the most right out of the edge. I like Latu a little bit more, but I think Murphy at the D tackle is clearly number one, better than everyone else by a long, long shot based on everything that he's done on film. It's filthy.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Murphy too. I put Latu on you because I thought maybe
I do like Latu a ton. I would be happy. I would be ecstatic. I'd be ecstatic with that pick. But my point is, after watching Murphy, like, ooh, that's gonna be, because the thing is, what I can see happening too is that if the organization is balancing those two guys, God, that's what a tough spot they would be in if that's the case. Would they lean Murphy because of like, hey, we have someone to team up with Kobe on the inside. He can play out of all the spots, right? Head up 0, 3 technique like Donald. We can put him at the 5 and have him rush like Donald did when we put him at the outside every now and then. Murphy can do all those things, all those different alignments that we covered a little bit earlier. He can do all that. Do we go that route because Latu has the neck issue from years past? Is that the deciding factor in it? And is maybe Verse gone or whatever? It's a lot of different ways this can go. But which player does Coach McVay and Les Snead give the ultimate thumbs up?
Yeah, and it's also, I think what Paul's been getting at too is, you got to think about, do you want, look at it this way, do you want Latu and Roku? Or do you want Murphy and
Chop?
Right. And that's
That'd
the
be
decision.
cool too, though. I'll take that too, man. But
it's a good problem to have.
It's just like, okay, if it turns out that way, I will say, if it's Murphy in round 1 and it's Chop Robinson in round 2, that would be a great haul on the defensive front for sure. If it turns out that way, because the opposite, say a Latu or Verse. Again, I expect Dallas Turner to get picked by Raheem Morris's Falcons. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Raheem. Look at, man. He can lie. Maybe. I mean, if they go receiver, they can go a different route. He's gonna pick Dallas Turner, bro. Okay, let's just be honest, everybody. So between Latu and Verse, I mean, we pick one of them, great. But then who would be the D tackle we would get in the second that would be up to Murphy's level, right? Or have that potential? I don't know. The drop off, I think, is a ton from Murphy to the
who's guy. Who's the wild card in those scenarios that we've been talking about, and it's a player I really like, and I think I'd love to mention his name is Chris Jenkins. So Chris Jenkins, I mean, look, Brian Murphy is definitely top of the class. I love that kid Newton from Illinois. Shout out to the Fighting Illini. So the Illinois, that kid is a beast as well. But this kid, Jenkins, I just love the technical aspect of his game. He's so refined. He's so powerful at the point of attack for his size. And the best part of it is that they haven't even tapped into his pass rush ability. So Jenkins is in there too. Ruko Roro. He's my boy from Clemson.
He's good too.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The flexibility that certain players have playing. So Murphy played the 0, the 1, the 3, 4-eye, 5. That's bananas. He was unblockable. The kid's unblockable. And what I like about it, which is so reminiscent of AD's, he loves the weight room. He has that tenacious desire to just get better and better and better. He's just one of those guys. So there are a lot of guys out there that would make sense for the Rams. the approach you have to take, if the Rams are legitimately putting all their sort of eggs in this one basket, let's go for it, right? Legitimately, you got to think about the draft this way. We just want to bring as much talent as possible onto this roster.
Yeah.
And then we will spackle the rest with free agents, and that's fine. Spackle not meaning like, they're just marginal players, but we're going to fill any gaping holes. So that's the key, is like when opportunity presents itself, which is going to happen, these first 2 rounds of this draft are going to be absolutely bananas. It's going to be complete chaos. It is going to be complete chaos. And if a team is patient, these players are going to fall into your lap. So you take a team like Carolina, right, which picks early, but I don't think they have a first-round pick, man. They'll jump over. They're going to give you 2 early 2s, which are like 2 late 1s, basically, essentially.
Oh, I take that.
Right? Think about that. And you're probably going to squeeze another pick out of them, which is in the top 75, top 80, right? So you're going to walk away with 3 legitimate players if you play your cards right. 4 maybe if you're managed to keep your second. So there's a lot of room here. And if you move back incrementally, I think the Rams not only are going to get not only the player that they want, but they're going to wind up with probably 2 additional players. So the Rams have to be smart, fill up this roster with as much talent early on that they can grab, and late draft picks like they always do, very intelligently. A linebacker, a safety, interior lineman that can be quality depth pieces. That's what the Rams need to really think about. Is like, think about, I want to maximize the amount of talent I can grab to build up this roster. That's what they need to think about. And there's not, we could talk about these individual players all day. We have our favorites, right? But the bottom line is the Rams need to amass talent. And if a trade for a veteran comes up, right, which is probably going to happen on draft day, which happens all the time, and if a draft for a quality veteran player, pull that trigger, man. There's no way that you're going to get a young player to match the bang for the buck that a veteran player is going to give you, an established player. And, we've been talking about some established players as well. This is going to open up 2 avenues for the Rams. These high draft picks to get these talented young players, but also somewhere down the line, one of these early picks bringing in a really quality veteran.
Yeah, good stuff. We're getting into the draft talk. We got to save that, man. We got 3 or 4 episodes to fill up, and it's going to be. I can't wait till draft day, though. I think I'm going to have to take a half day off just to get pumped in the afternoon there, get all set with my my spreadsheet, my list of players, my 8-team Les Snead bubble of the guys I want in that.
Don't forget the Puka Power Picks. Get you up to speed really quickly, Ram Nation.
Yeah,
go on YouTube. The Puka Power Picks 1 and 2. That's Mark's got his sheet there. The day 3 dudes ready to go.
Yeah, and and I've become so thanks Paul for educating me on so many players. I think I'm ready to order my Sione Vaki shirt already. Day 1.
Dude, Sione Vaki on the Rams would be, oh my god.
Oh, I got him started again.
So Mark and Ian, you don't realize when they brought back that kickoff rule, I was like, yes. The odds of Vaki just went up exponentially.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. You're right, though.
Okay, guys. I think we had a good chat here. Thanks a lot for joining. Good stuff. And we're going to try to meet up. Well, we'll have a roundtable next week. We may have 2 roundtables next week. We'll have to sync up and figure it out. We got a lot to squeeze in before the draft. Yeah. And hey, thanks a lot for your time, guys.
Double barrel ram horns, baby. Rally round the Ramley.
That's right, baby. Right. Again, Aaron Donald, number 1 in your hearts, number 1 on the field, number 1 Ram all time. Don't forget it.
99
Absolutely.
problems, baby.
Okay, guys, out here. Thanks.